Former Virginia Attorney General and former Governor of Virginia, Governor James S. Gilmore III. Welcome back to the show, Governor Gilmore. First up, on this legislative push that's taking place up in D.C., I know there's a last-minute Hail Mary that's taking place today. Do you expect anything to happen before these kids go on vacation for the next 5 weeks?
I think it's going to be a real challenge because you've got to get something through the House and then in through the Senate. And so far, it doesn't look like there's any consensus as to what they should be doing. But I would say that it's absolutely imperative that we see congressional action in order to get a handle on this uncontrolled situation on the southern border right there in Texas.
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot that has to be done, and some policy needs to be addressed here. It's not just a matter of appropriating money to take care of illegal kids coming across the border, being brought here by criminal organizations. It's a matter of trying to understand what we're really going to do in the future. Is the policy of the United States really going to be that anyone south of the Texas border that's in impoverished conditions under the age of 15 can come to this country and just stay? I can't imagine that that's the policy of the United States, but we haven't had any serious discussion about it.
Yeah, 10-4. And the effort to stem this tide, this flood, this tsunami that has been taking place of late, there seems to be a change in policy that has been in the work for several weeks now. For example, up in Karnes City, south of San Antonio, we're opening up this detention facility that's going to expedite the removal of the quote-unquote family units, the moms with the kids, going to hold them, going to put them in front of a judge, going to deport them as quickly as possible to send the message to Central America. You will be caught. You will be sent back. At least on that side, there seems to be some positive movement. The message needs to get back to Central America that they cannot stay, and there seems to be movement, at least on the administration, on that end.
I think we don't want to muddle up the message that we're sending to the Hispanic community. We're clearly seeing a wave of immigration, and no one wants to be unhappy about the Hispanic community. They're adding a great deal to the culture of this nation. That's not the point. The point is the question of whether or not we as a nation are going to control our own borders or not. And something has to be done about that. And if we're taking decisive action on that, then that's a good message to send to the rest of the world.
There was some movement this week, agreement, I guess, among Republicans to go ahead and sue the president for executive actions. I'm guessing to prevent him from taking his mighty pen and doing anything on the immigration side. Do you think that's a good move on Boehner's part?
There's been talk about impeachment. There's been talk about a lawsuit. I think the impeachment is not wise. I think that there's no taste anywhere for trying to remove the president. But I think a lawsuit would put before a court what the proper limitations are of presidential authority. There's been some discussion about how he has suspended part of the Obamacare because it's really unworkable, so he's just unilaterally suspending it without congressional authority. There's discussion now about how the president is simply going to just take his pen, and if the Congress won't act on the immigration bill, he'll just do something. We can't have a country that if the political processes are taking their time and not working, and agreement is not being reached, that doesn't mean that you just don't throw the power over to the president to rule by decree. And I can't think of how you're going to resolve this without a court looking at the issue.
Former governor of Virginia and president CEO of Free Congress Foundation, Governor James S. Gilmore, our guest on 710 KURV.
Yeah, Governor Tim Sullivan here. Well, it seems to me it's like the House is forcing President Obama to act on his own. The House is just simply refusing to work with the president on immigration, really anything else. And there's no reason not to work with the president, at least on immigration. He has expressed a willingness numerous times to compromise.
Well, there certainly has been a report today that Senator Cruz of Texas intervened in the House processes and prevented that immigration bill from being considered appropriately in the House. And that's why they postponed their return to their districts and are meeting again today in order to try to overcome that opposition by Senator Cruz. But the main thing is that something does have to be done. There has to be the issue properly addressed. But, Tim, I just cannot get away from this. If we just simply take the position, if the Congress doesn't act by today and that the president, therefore, can just do whatever he wants, where do you stop on that? We're still a nation of laws and a nation of the restraint of federal power. and that has to be maintained. We can't just simply say, well, if the Congress doesn't act, the president can just do anything he wants. I think we have to have a legitimate policy and to control the power over the people.
Yeah, and if the House would get on board, we probably could. Back to Texas Senator Cruz for a minute. That leads me to my next question. He, like you say, played a big role in derailing that House bill yesterday. What is Senator Cruz doing messing with the House?
I think that's unprecedented. I would not think that the leadership in the House of Representatives would appreciate a United States senator coming across the aisle in order to disrupt the processes and the legal processes of the House of Representatives.
They got some free pizza out of it, though.
Pardon me?
They got some free pizza out of it, though.
And free pizza and free press. I'm giving it to him right now, as a matter of fact. But maybe it was yeah. I think that I think that the legislation has to work its will, but we have to have a conversation with the people of the United States right now about what we are going to be doing. Well, what is exactly the best way to cope with these issues? But one thing I know for sure, and that is that you can't have a border that doesn't have any controls and people simply coming into the state of Texas or across the border.
Boy, we're seeing a lot of controls down here. We have
Not
double
enough.
the number of Border Patrol
Not
agents
enough.
in the last 5 years. We've got DPS gunboats up and down the river.
Not
We've
enough.
got drones flying over.
Not enough.
We've got National Guard troops coming. We have these aerostat. We
Finally
have
getting the
cameras and
attention.
sensors
Finally getting the
and
attention.
Border Patrol
Which,
agents,
by the way,
CBP
Governor-
officers. And how do you reconcile that when we've doubled the number of amount
It's
of
not enough.
security along the border, and drugs and immigrants are still flowing like they have been since the past 15, 20 years? Doesn't
Well, I have a
it
lot
say
of-
to you that there needs to be some other different approach?
Well,
What?
yes, and I have some experience with it. I served in the Arizona desert when I was in the Army back in the 70s when I was at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And I also testified before the Homeland Security Committee. And basically I said, listen, we know we've got these challenges in the Middle East. And by the way, that's more serious this morning than ever before. But I told the committee, I said, don't take your eye off the southern border. These drug cartels and these terrorist type of organizations in Mexico must be taken seriously. It's a threat to the southern border and specifically to Texas.
My compadre over here, Governor, likes to slam the Republican Congress all the time. But there were some days back that the president said, hey, I'm willing to go piecemeal. We need the leadership that he has never provided, and we need to go back and say, Mr. President, you said piecemeal. Okay, let's agree on border security. How about putting boats every quarter mile on the river? That way we can finally secure the Texas-Mexico border. We need to put his feet to the fire and say, you
Sir,
said
is
piecemeal.
Is that
Let's
the
go
picture
back.
of America you really want to see?
I want the border secure, dude. And you keep complaining about we got more troops and more border
Well, we
patrol now
do.
than ever.
We
It's
do.
not enough, dude. It's not enough. We
And you can
obviously
put-
need more.
You can put a U.S. Marine every inch along the border, and something would still get
I'm not calling
across.
for U.S. Marines. I'm calling for boats on the river. The most
Well,
effective
that's-
measure of deterrent.
militarization is militarization.
The most effective measure of deterrent are boats on the river. You put enough boats on there, up and down, up and down. They cannot
That's-
cross.
That's
It will
delusional.
work,
That
and
is
you will.
completely delusional.
Hey, this is great fun. I like being in this debate. But,
Governor Gilmore.
with you guys.
Yeah.
But the real issue here is what is our policy going to be? Is our policy that anyone who can get into this country by hook or by crook becomes a citizen? Is that really our policy?
Yeah.
I think it really can't be, and we have to state clearly what our message is. That requires decisive presidential leadership.
Yes, sir.
I don't
And
think
we
we're
don't
getting it.
have that. We have not had that for many years.
But
so-
you're always also talking about there needs to be, two to tango. So we need Congress to get in on this too, and
Yeah,
specifically
there's
the House
Congress thing again.
Republicans.
Yeah, please. Hey, by the way, Governor, you would really enjoy sitting down with me and Tim over a baseball game. We start fighting over the designated hitter. That would be really fun. Governor, thank you much. We'll talk to you soon. That's Governor James Gilmore joining us on 710 KURV.